Dr. Han Jiwoo stared at her computer screen in the dimly lit laboratory. The numbers didn't make sense. She had run the dark matter detection experiment 50 times, and each time the results were the same. According to all known physics, this shouldn't be happening. Tae-hyun, could you come look at this? She called to her research partner. Dr. Kim Tae-hyun walked over from his workstation, his coffee cup still steaming in his hand. The Seoul Advanced Research Institute's quantum physics lab was quiet at 3 in the morning. Most scientists had gone home hours ago, but Ji-woo and Tae-hyun often worked late. Their dark matter detection project was too important to leave. These readings are impossible, Tae-hyun said, putting down his coffee. He leaned closer to the screen, adjusting his glasses. The dark matter particles are responding to our observations. They're changing their behavior when we measure them. Ji-woo nodded, running her hands through her short black hair. It's like they know we're watching them. Look at this pattern. She pointed to a graph on the screen. When we turn on the detector, they move in one direction. When we turn it off, they move in another. It's too organized to be random. Tae-hyun pulled up a chair and started typing. Let's run it again. I'll modify the detection sequence. They worked together in silence, the soft hum of computers filling the room. Outside their window, Seoul's nighttime lights sparkle against the dark sky. The city never slept, but up here in their lab, they felt removed from the world below. The new test started. Numbers flowed across the screen. Ji-woo held her breath. The pattern appeared again, but this time it was even clearer. This changes everything, Ji-woo whispered. Dark matter isn't just invisible mass floating in space. It's reacting to us. It might be. She hesitated to say the word. Conscious. Tae-hyun finished her thought. Ji-woo, if you're right, this is the biggest discovery in human history. Ji-woo stood up and walked to the window. The city lights below reminded her of the patterns in their data, countless points of brightness in the darkness. We need to be sure, she said. Absolutely sure. We'll run more tests tomorrow with different equipment. I'll call Dr. Park Soo-jin, Tae-hyun said, reaching for his phone. We need her quantum computing expertise for this. If there's a pattern in the data, her algorithms will find it. Ji-woo turned back to her computer, her mind racing with possibilities. If dark matter was conscious, if it could react to human observation, then everything they knew about the universe was about to change. Physics textbooks would need to be rewritten. The nature of consciousness itself would need to be reconsidered. She opened a new document and began typing her observations. The words flowed quickly as she documented every detail of their discovery. Years of research had led to this moment. All those nights in the lab, all the failed experiments, all the doubts from other scientists. It had all been worth it. The coffee's cold, Tae-hyun said, trying to lighten the mood. Should we get fresh ones? We're going to be here a while. Ji-woo smiled. Yes, we'll need it. Tonight is just the beginning. Tomorrow, we start proving to the world that dark matter is more than just missing mass. It's something alive. As they walked to the break room, their computers continued collecting data. On the screens behind them, the patterns kept appearing, like a message waiting to be understood. In the vast darkness between stars, something was reaching out to humanity. And in a quiet lab in Seoul, 2 scientists had finally noticed. The mystery of dark matter was about to become the discovery that would change humanity's place in the cosmos forever. Park Soo-jin arrived at the laboratory early the next morning, her laptop under her arm. The young quantum computing specialist had barely slept after receiving Tae-hyun's call. Her eyes were tired, but her mind was sharp with excitement. Show me the data, she said, setting up her computer next to Ji-woo's workstation. The morning sun was streaming through the laboratory windows, making the screens harder to read. Ji-woo and Tae-hyun had worked through the night, gathering more evidence. They shared their findings with Soo-jin, explaining how the dark matter particles seemed to respond to their observations. The patterns are clear, Soo-jin said. typing rapidly on her keyboard. I can run them through my quantum pattern recognition algorithm. It's designed to find order in quantum chaos. Her fingers moved quickly across the keys, writing new code to analyze the strange data. The three scientists waited as Su Jin's program processed the information. Minutes passed in tense silence. Then, suddenly, new patterns appeared on the screen. "Look at this." Su Jin pointed to a series of repeating waves in the data. "These aren't random fluctuations. They're organized like a language." Jai Wu leaned closer to the screen. "Can your algorithm decode it?" "I can try," Su Jin said. She opened a new program window and began modifying her code. "If we treat each quantum fluctuation as a symbol, maybe we can find meaning in the sequences." Hours passed as they worked. The laboratory filled with other scientists, but the three barely noticed. They were too focused on their discovery. Su Jin's algorithm grew more complex as she added new parameters to understand the patterns. At 2 in the afternoon, something changed. The computer screen filled with new information. The quantum fluctuations began organizing themselves into clear patterns that repeated over and over. "It's a message," Su Jin whispered. Her voice was filled with awe. "The dark matter. It's trying to communicate with us." The message was simple but clear. Through quantum fluctuations, the dark matter beings were sending basic mathematical sequences, prime numbers, the value of pi, and simple geometric patterns. "They're proving their intelligence," Ta-hyun said, "starting with universal mathematical concepts we would recognize." Jai Wu sat down heavily in her chair. "We're not just detecting dark matter anymore. We're talking to it. And it's been here all along, watching us, studying us." Su Jin's algorithm continued decoding more patterns. The messages became more complex. The dark matter beings were sharing information about their nature, explaining how they existed in spaces between normal matter. "They've been aware of us for thousands of years," Ji Wu said, reading the decoded patterns. "They've watched human civilization develop. They've seen everything. But why reveal themselves now?" Ta-hyun asked, rubbing his tired eyes. Before anyone could answer, Su Jin's computer began showing new patterns. The message that emerged made them all freeze in concern. "They're warning us," Su Jin said, her voice trembling slightly. "Something is wrong with the universe, something about dark energy." Jai Wu looked out the window at the bright afternoon sky. Somewhere in the vast space above them, beings made of dark matter were reaching out to humanity, and they were afraid of something that threatened both their species. "Call the director," Ji Wu said firmly. "We need to tell him what we found. The world needs to know about this. Whatever threat these beings are warning us about, we need to be ready." As Su Jin reached for her phone, the quantum patterns continued flowing across the screen. The dark matter beings had broken their silence after millennia of watching. Now, humanity needed to prepare for whatever message would come next. The Institute's main conference room was packed with people. Scientists, government officials, and military personnel sat around the large oval table, their faces lit by the bright screens showing Su Jin's decoded messages. Lee Do-hyun, the military attaché, stood near the front, his expression serious as he studied the data. "You're telling us that dark matter is conscious," Do-hyun said, "and it's warning us about dark energy." He turned to face Ji Wu, who stood beside the main screen. "Yes," Ji Wu replied. "The beings call it the void. It's not just expanding the universe as we thought. It's consuming it." Ta-hyun stepped forward, pointing to new patterns appearing on the screen. "According to their messages, dark energy is like a hungry ocean. It doesn't just push space apart. It breaks down the basic structure of reality." The room fell silent as Su Jin's algorithm translated more messages. The dark matter beings explained how they had watched countless galaxies fall into regions where dark energy had grown too strong. These areas became dead zones where no matter could exist. "Our galaxy will be next," Su Jin said quietly, her eyes fixed on her computer screen. The dark matter beings say we have maybe 50 years before the void reaches us. Do-hyun straightened his uniform and walked to the center of the room. We need to take this to the UN Security Council immediately. This isn't just a scientific discovery anymore. It's a threat to human survival. They won't believe us, one of the senior scientists said. This sounds like science fiction. We need more proof. As if in response, the quantum detection equipment began recording new signals. Soo-jin's algorithm translated them in real time. The dark matter beings were sending something new, detailed scientific information about how to detect the approach of the void. They're helping us prove it, Ji-woo said, her voice growing stronger. They're showing us how to measure the danger ourselves. Do-hyun pulled out his phone and began making calls. Within hours, the information was being shared with military and scientific organizations worldwide. Some responded with disbelief, others with fear, but all agreed that the data needed to be verified. The dark matter beings say they've been fighting the void for billions of years, Ta-hyun explained to the room. They've managed to slow it down, but they can't stop it alone. They need our help. Why us? Someone asked. We're so far behind them technologically. Ji-woo walked to the window, looking out at the city below. Because we can do something they can't, she said. We can work with normal matter. We can build things in our physical world. Together, we might find a solution they couldn't find alone. The meeting continued late into the night. As the evidence mounted, even the skeptics began to accept the reality of their situation. Humanity had just learned it wasn't alone in the universe, only to discover that both species faced extinction. We need to act fast, Do-hyun said, reviewing the action plans on his tablet. First, we prove the threat is real. Then, we get the world's governments to work together. We have 50 years to save not just humanity, but all life as we know it. As the meeting ended, Ji-woo stayed behind with Soo-jin and Ta-hyun. The quantum patterns kept flowing across their screens, carrying more messages from their dark matter allies. Somewhere in all that information would be the key to humanity's survival. They just had to find it. 1 month after the discovery, the Global Space Coalition held an emergency meeting in Geneva. Scientists from 30 countries gathered to discuss the dark matter communications and the threat of the void. Dr. Choi Min-ji, a respected astrophysicist, led the international team assigned to verify the Korean team's findings. Every test confirms what Dr. Han and her team discovered, Min-ji announced to the packed auditorium. She stood at the podium, her voice steady and clear. The dark matter beings are real, and their warning about dark energy is genuine. In the front row, Ji-woo and her team watched as Min-ji showed evidence from laboratories around the world. Each facility had built quantum detection equipment following the dark matter being's specifications. Each one had received the same warnings about the void. Strange events have already begun. Min-ji continued, changing the display to show global data. The space telescopes are detecting unusual patterns in distant galaxies. The void is becoming visible. Scientists from different countries shared their observations. In Australia, quantum measurements showed disturbances in space-time. In Canada, new dark energy readings matched the dark matter being's predictions. In Brazil, astronomical observations revealed entire star systems disappearing into dead zones. We need to act now, Min-ji said firmly. The dark matter beings have offered to share their knowledge with us. They want to teach us how to fight back against the void. After the main presentation, the teams broke into smaller groups. Ji-woo worked with scientists from Japan and Germany, studying the latest communications from their dark matter allies. Soo-jin collaborated with computing experts from India and the United States, improving her translation algorithms. The dark matter beings say they can show us how to build better detection systems, Ta-hyun explained to a group of engineers. They want us to set up a global network of quantum sensors. As the day progressed, more unusual reports arrived. A research station in Antarctica reported seeing strange lights in the sky that defied physical laws. Satellites detected massive energy fluctuations in empty space. The void's effects were becoming harder to ignore. Time is running out faster than we thought, Min-ji told Ji-woo during a short break. They stood by a window, watching the sunset over Geneva's lake. The dark matter beings say the void is accelerating. We might have less than 50 years. Then we need to work faster, Ji-woo replied. She opened her tablet, showing Min-ji the latest messages. They're teaching us how to build something new, a gateway of some kind. They say it's the key to understanding what we're fighting. The meeting continued late into the night. Teams from different countries agreed to share all their research openly. The dark matter beings had made it clear that only by working together could humanity hope to survive. As the scientists left the conference center, the night sky seemed different somehow. The stars looked a little dimmer, the darkness between them a little deeper. Somewhere out there, the void was growing stronger. But humanity was no longer facing it alone. With their dark matter allies, they had a chance to fight back. They just needed to learn how. In the frozen landscape of Antarctica, humanity's most ambitious project was taking shape. The Gateway facility rose from the ice like a modern pyramid, its metal surface gleaming under the perpetual summer sun. Inside, Kang Hyun-woo stood before a massive circular structure, checking measurements on his tablet. The quantum alignment is perfect, Hyun-woo said to Ji-woo, who had flown in from Seoul to oversee the final preparations. The dark matter beings helped us design something that should have taken centuries to develop. The gateway itself was a marvel of engineering. It combined traditional technology with knowledge from their dark matter allies. Complex quantum sensors lined the circular frame, designed to create a stable passage between normal space and the dark matter dimension. All the simulations show it will work, Tae-hyun added, studying the data on the main control screen. The dark matter beings say they've created a matching gateway on their side. When both are active, they should connect. The facility hummed with activity. Scientists and engineers from every major nation worked together, following instructions that came through their quantum communications. Soo-jin had upgraded her translation algorithms, making it easier to understand the complex scientific knowledge the dark matter being shared. The gateway needs more power, Hyun-woo said, making adjustments to the control systems. We're pulling energy from 3 nuclear plants just to keep it stable. At 28 years old, he was the youngest person ever to lead such an important project, but his brilliant mind had earned everyone's trust. Outside, the Antarctic wind howled against the facility's walls. Inside, the air was tense with anticipation. After 6 months of construction, they were ready to attempt the first activation. If it worked, humans would see into the dark matter dimension for the first time. All teams, report in, Ji-woo called over the facility's communication system. One by one, each section confirmed they were ready. Medical teams stood by in case something went wrong. Security forces watched every entrance, making sure nothing could interfere with the test. Starting power-up sequence, Hyun-woo announced. His fingers moved across the control panel with practiced ease. The gateway's frame began to glow with a soft blue light. The quantum sensors activated one by one, creating patterns of energy that matched the dark matter being's specifications. The entire facility vibrated as power flowed into the gateway. Warning lights flashed as energy levels rose higher than anything humans had attempted before. But everything held stable, just as their dark matter allies had promised. Quantum field is forming, Tae-hyun reported, his eyes fixed on the readings. The dark matter beings say their gateway is synchronized with ours. We can proceed with the final stage. Ji-woo looked at each member of her team. They had come so far since that night in the Seoul laboratory. Now they stood at the edge of humanity's greatest achievement. Through this gateway, they would learn the true nature of dark energy and how to fight it. Activate final sequence, she ordered. The gateway's center began to shimmer like heat waves over hot pavement. The air itself seemed to bend and twist. Then, slowly, a window opened into another reality. Through it, they could see shapes and patterns that human eyes were never designed to understand. The dark matter dimension was open before them. Humanity had taken its first step into a larger universe. The exploration team stood before the active gateway, wearing specially designed suits that would protect them in the dark matter dimension. Ji-woo checked her team's equipment one final time. Beside her, Ta-hyun and Hyun-woo made their own preparations. The suits will let us exist in their dimension for 6 hours, Hyun-woo explained, reading from his instruments. After that, we must return. The dark matter beings say our bodies cannot handle longer exposure. The gateway's opening shimmered with strange light. Through it, they could see shapes that seemed to twist in impossible ways. The dark matter beings had told them this was normal. Human eyes and brains needed time to understand their realm. Remember the mission, Ji-woo said to her team. We need to understand how dark energy works. The dark matter beings say we can only learn this by seeing it ourselves. They stepped through the gateway together. The sensation was strange, like walking through a wall of warm water. For a moment, everything went dark. Then their eyes adjusted, and they saw the true nature of the universe. The dark matter dimension was beautiful in an alien way. What looked like empty space in their universe was full of complex structures here. Streams of energy flowed like rivers through the void. Patterns of force and matter danced in ways that defied normal physics. Look there, Ta-hyun said, pointing to a distant section of space. Through their special visors, they could see dark energy at work. It looked like black lightning eating away at the fabric of reality. The dark matter beings appeared around them. In this dimension, the humans could finally see their allies. They were elegant creatures made of pure energy and thought. They moved through space like living mathematics. They're showing us something, Hyun-woo said, studying the readings on his suit's computer. The balance between dark matter and dark energy. It's like a cosmic dance, but the dance is breaking down. The beings guided them through their realm, showing them places where dark energy had grown too strong. These areas were completely empty. No matter, no energy, no possibility of life. The void had consumed everything. The dark energy isn't just expanding space, Ji-woo realized, watching the patterns. It's breaking down the rules that hold reality together. If it reaches our galaxy, everything we know would end, Ta-hyun finished. Not just life, but the very possibility of existence. The dark matter beings shared more of their knowledge. They showed how they had fought the void for billions of years, using their natural connection to space-time to hold it back. But they were losing the battle. They need our help because we're different, Hyun-woo said, excitement in his voice. We can work with normal matter in ways they can't. Together, we might find a solution they never could alone. As their time limit approached, the team prepared to return. They had learned more about the universe in these few hours than humanity had discovered in its entire history. But they had also learned how serious the threat was. We'll need to build more than just one gateway, Ji-woo said as they walked back toward the portal home. We need a network of them, connecting our dimension to theirs. It's the only way we can work together to save both our worlds. Behind them, the dark matter beings pulsed with agreement. The joint mission to save the universe had truly begun. After 3 months of studying the dark matter dimension, the scientists finally understood what they needed to do. In the main control room of the Antarctic facility, Ji-woo presented their plan to leaders from around the world. The quantum resonators will create a network of stabilizing fields, she explained, showing a holographic map of the solar system. When we place them in specific points around our sun, they will work with the dark matter beings to push back the void. Hyun-woo stepped forward to explain the technical details. Each resonator is like a tuning fork for reality itself. The dark matter beings will connect to them, using their natural abilities to strengthen the basic forces that hold space together. The plan was ambitious. They would need to build and launch 12 massive resonators into space, Each one had to be precisely positioned and perfectly tuned. The dark matter beings would provide the knowledge, but humans had to do the actual construction. "We've already built a prototype," Taehyun announced. He pressed a button, and screens showed a large satellite-like structure in a testing chamber. "It works exactly as our allies predicted. When activated, it creates a field that strengthens the fabric of space-time." The world leaders listened carefully. They had seen enough evidence of the void's threat to take this seriously. Strange disturbances in space were becoming more common. Astronomical observations showed nearby galaxies starting to show signs of damage. "How long will it take to build the network?" one of the leaders asked. 6 months for construction," Hyunwoo answered. "Another 3 months to launch and position them. The dark matter beings say we still have time, but we must start immediately." The room erupted in discussion. Building the resonator network would require resources from every major nation. It would be the largest space project in human history. But everyone understood the stakes. Without this network, their universe would eventually be consumed by the void. "The dark matter beings have shared another important discovery," Ji-woo said, bringing attention back to the presentation. "The resonators won't just protect us from dark energy. They'll also let us learn to work with both dark matter and dark energy in new ways. This could be the beginning of humanity's greatest technological leap." The project was approved unanimously. Within days, factories around the world began producing parts for the resonators. Space agencies coordinated their efforts to plan the launches. Scientists worked around the clock, guided by knowledge from their dark matter allies. Through the gateway, the dark matter beings watched humanity's progress with approval. They had chosen well in reaching out to humans, where they had knowledge and natural abilities. Humans had creativity and determination. Together, they could achieve what neither species could do alone. "The first resonator will be ready for testing next week," Hyunwoo told Ji-woo as they reviewed the construction progress. "Once we prove it works at full power, we can start mass production." Ji-woo nodded, looking at the latest data from their quantum sensors. The void was still growing stronger, but soon they would have a way to fight back. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and found not only a solution but also new allies and new possibilities for the future. 1 year after the discovery of dark matter consciousness, the solar system had changed forever. 12 quantum resonators orbited the sun in perfect formation, their energy fields working in harmony with the dark matter beings to stabilize space itself. From the Antarctic facility's control room, Ji-woo watched the network's status displays with pride. "All resonators are operating at full power," Hyunwoo reported, checking the latest readings. "The dark energy levels in our region of space have dropped by 30%. The void is being pushed back." The success of the resonator network had changed more than just the battle against dark energy. Humanity had learned to work with forces they barely understood a year ago. The partnership with the dark matter beings had opened new doors in science and technology. "The new gateway is ready," Taehyun announced, entering the control room with excitement. "It's different from our first one. This gateway is designed for permanent connection between our dimensions." Through the facility's windows, they could see the new gateway building rising from the ice. It was larger than the first, built with technology that combined human engineering with dark matter knowledge. This gateway would be the first of many, creating permanent bridges between the two species. "The dark matter beings say we're ready for the next step," Soo-jin said, reading the latest translations on her screen. "They want to help us build our first colony in their dimension, a place where humans can live and work alongside them." The idea would have seemed impossible a year ago. But now, special suits and protective systems would allow humans to stay in the dark matter dimension for months at a time. The colony would be humanity's first true step into a larger universe. "We've chosen the first team of colonists," Ji-woo said, reviewing the list on her tablet. "Scientists, engineers, and explorers who will learn to live in a dimension humans weren't born to inhabit. They'll be the pioneers of a new age." The dark matter beings had shared another exciting discovery. The resonator network wasn't just protecting space from the void. It was teaching humans how to work with both dark matter and dark energy. Soon, they would be able to use these forces to travel further and faster than ever before. The first colony ship launches next month, Hyunwoo said, showing the designs on the main screen. It uses dark energy fields for propulsion. The dark matter beings say it can cross our solar system in days instead of months. Jae-woo looked around the control room at her team. They had all grown in the past year. Hyunwoo's engineering skills had reached new levels. Taehyun's understanding of physics had expanded beyond traditional science. Sujin's work with the dark matter beings had created new forms of communication. We did more than save our universe, Jiwoo said to her colleagues. We proved that different species from different dimensions could work together. We showed that the greatest discoveries come when we face challenges together. Outside, the Antarctic sun painted the sky in beautiful colors. The new gateway hummed with power, ready to connect Earth to the dark matter dimension permanently. Above them, the resonator network protected their galaxy, while opening new possibilities for exploration and discovery. Humanity had solved the mystery of dark matter and dark energy. But in doing so, they had found something even more valuable, a future filled with endless possibilities and new friends to explore it with.